Well, hello everyone. Here I am again. I was just live doing a Q&A. Now I'm back for another story of hope. So what that means for all of you is that there's going to be another scholarship that we give away here. The more active, excited, commenty you are, the more likely it is that you will win. Yeah. And now I am waiting for my love, Jamie, to come on and join me. Let's see. I don't think I see you yet, Jamie, but if you're on, just hit the plus button at the bottom of your screen, the little video camera with the plus, and then that will help me know you're here, and then I can add you to the video. I just want to make sure. Team, do you see her? I don't think I see her yet. No, I don't think I see her yet. So we will wait. Miss Jamie, I started working with her back when I had here for the story of hope. Yes, you are. Here she is. There's my love. I started working with Jamie before I had electronic health record system. So everything is handwritten. But then we have worked since, and I have it in the computer. Here she is. I can't wait to see. Let's let her come on. I'm excited. Oh, hi. Oh,
Hi.
so beautiful. How are you? So good
I'm
to
great.
see you.
You
Yeah.
too.
Hi. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Oh, how's everything at home? Like little
Good.
one's doing
Yeah.
great?
Little
Yeah.
little guy is 2 months old today, so we're having a mini birthday. A mini
Oh,
birthday today.
yay. Yay. Is he having fun? He's enjoying
He
his new
is.
gigs in life? Yeah.
He is. He's very happy, very easy, very fun. We're
Good.
super blessed. Yeah.
Oh, how are you feeling?
Good. I mean, C-section recovery is no joke, so that was like a little more than I probably anticipated, just in terms of how long it really takes to feel mobile in a way
Yeah,
that is, sort of like fully what you want to be doing as a new mom. But
I know.
other than that, super great.
Oh, good, good. I have C-section recovery tips in that new mama guide. I don't know if you saw that, but um, there's some good things in there, like for the scar and stuff like that. Or just message me later and I'll share stuff with you.
Yeah.
Or email me.
Okay.
Because if you stay on top of the scar and all that too, it's like it'll be non-existent, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how quickly it all heals. It's cool to watch if you're, like if that stuff interests you. It's very interesting to watch. But yeah,
Yeah.
more healing going on the inside than the outside, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know, I know. You'll get there. So let's do it. Let's share with, everybody's here eager for another story of hope. So, of course, I know your case well, but why don't you share a bit about, yeah, your journey? Or I know we have highlights listed out here too. Um, Jamie did over 20
Yeah.
IUIs for 5 years, right? That was a big one. But yeah, why don't you jump in and share some things?
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Froze eggs in my late 30s and didn't get married until I was 40. So started thinking about a baby way before I was married, but it was really important to me to have a partner in doing the whole joy of it. So we started trying naturally about a year after we got married, and really wanted to sort of exhaust every possible tool in our arsenal before having to use those eggs that were frozen. So as Aimee said, we did a number of IUIs. I started working with Aimee, both in group coaching and one-on-one, obviously reading all of her books and paying attention to any little nugget that she put out there. And that was really helpful for me in terms of the continuity of having a community, not just Aimee, of course,
Yeah.
who is wonderful, but just the whole community as well, and listening to other people's stories. I think it took me those number of years to feel not just confident in the actual things I was doing, the food, the
Yeah.
routines, the meditations, the sleep, all of those good things, but to feel confident that that like this baby was really coming.
Yeah.
We did 2 rounds of IVF, both retrieved a high number of eggs, but no healthy embryos. And then finally, we decided to use my eggs that were on ice, as I like to say, and ended up using half of those eggs. We took 12 eggs um, and ended up with two
Normals.
normal embryos, and then implanted last year, and baby boy is 2 months old.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice summary of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, so she froze those eggs at 38, like she said, and you still have 12 more frozen, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Sure do.
which is amazing. And I think like our work, even though we didn't, if you will, get to like a healthy embryo in your current state, it still was where some people might say, oh, well, but I think too, like the lead up of our work and um, Jamie came to me already being like an uber healthy individual, like on so many levels. You kind of had all the things already on lockdown from like the diet and supplement lifestyle wise, and then there were tweaks, but it was like that emotional support throughout that whole process, for those years doing the IUIs, even moving to IVF, getting to the right doctors, and then ultimately coming to the decision of like, okay, let's go back and use these eggs, and that seeing that as seeing that as part of like the evolution of the process, not like this plan B that you were trying to avoid, if you will, and
Yep.
really coming to like peace with that. And then also I do think the work that we did together really lent itself to, I guess, the ease with which you did get pregnant once we had the embryo.
Yeah. I mean, it was, for me, it was sort of like the last puzzle piece fell into place. And then it was really the confidence and sort of gratitude that had been built into my body to do the carrying. I mean, it really is true that it was like the hardest part for me was getting that healthy embryo in my body. And then once it
Mm-hmm.
was there, it was like all of the preparatory work that had gone into it, just like loaded right in and was
Yeah.
deployed immediately for that incredible little guy. And so I think for me in hindsight, it really was super clear once that embryo was in that like I was ready to go, and
Yeah.
that I was prepared and mentally ready and emotionally um, sort of fruitful. Like I had a lot to give, and
Yeah.
spiritually just aligned, right aligned. And of course, I couldn't see that
Yeah.
quite the same or with the same clarity as I felt it once it happened. But because of course, when you're on this path, it's so easy to just focus on what's the next thing, what's the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for sure, all that work just like came to life the minute that embryo was there.
Yeah. And I talk about that too, if you don't mind, of like the spiritual journey that you really went on over the years that like we worked together too. It was like I feel like you just went so deep spiritually, and that shifted you to this like, I don't know, almost like this higher level, I think, of like really getting into receiving mode,
Yeah.
and how you managed. I think it really helped. We always would have those like deep philosophical conversations whenever we had our coaching sessions, but I think it also helped you navigate kind of what you were going through. I mean, like 20 IUIs and multiple rounds of IVF, like it was a lot on you.
I laughed when I went in for my postpartum well visit with my OB because my fertility doc and my OB are in the same building. And I was walking, through the lobby to the elevator, and I was like, I've been in this building once a month for like 5 years. And I do not have to come back here ever
So
again if
nice.
I don't
Right.
want to.
Right. Right.
Um, so there really is this physical routine, right? And it can become very grueling and a little monotonous. And as Aimee said, for me, health is a really core part of my existence, and the
Always
the
has.
health and the routine kind of is a spiritual thing. But even for me, it got to be a little bit of a slog and feel a little bit like not a burden, just like it got to feeling kind of mechanical. And I was sort of laughing about that as I was walking through the elevator lobby the other day. But I would say two things about that journey, and I'll just be very, very honest. I think I I had underestimated the weight that gets placed on us about being older,
Yeah.
and also about I have a pretty big job, like big in terms of hours and intensity, not big like so important, but big just like a load, big load job. And I think there was a piece of me that had sort of culturally assimilated this idea that like maybe I didn't deserve to be a mom, or I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be a good mom because how would I fit it in, or I would have to give up some of my life, or just there were sort of there's these nagging things that embed themselves in our energy systems about being older, or about I'm just for me
Yeah.
about being older and about being a professional. And I'm sure there are a litany of other things that get
Yeah.
embedded in our systems from different backgrounds or
Yeah.
cultures or races or orientations. Like there's just stuff, right? And those things accumulate kind of like plaque or residue over time. And when you get to the place at the ripe old age of 41, there's been a lot of it. And I always said to Aimee, the hardest part for me in all of our work is the meditating, is
Yeah.
the believing, the visualization. Like I can visualize myself with a 2-year-old at the park, but I
Being
can't
pregnant so hard for you.
sit with
Yeah.
getting pregnant. I can't
Yeah.
conjure up an image or a sensation of actually being pregnant. And that for me spiritually was really hard to accept, that I couldn't, and I didn't at some point want to force myself into kind of fake it till you make it. That just didn't seem right. And so um, I did have this little, like the closest I could get was at night, I would look at the stars and I would look up at the constellation Orion, which is my baby boy's name.
Aw.
And I would just say, I know that you're up there. And if you come to me in this life,
Yeah.
like I will love you forever.
Aw.
And I know you're there. And that was kind of like as close as
Yeah. It's
I
close.
could get, right? And here he is, and that's
Yeah.
his name. And
Yeah.
like I do believe that, we called him in. And I think it's really important to share that you don't have to be great at
Yeah.
everything Aimee tells
Agree.
you to do, right? And if there's a piece that's missing, it doesn't mean I wasn't spiritually connected. It just
Right.
meant that I was doing it in a slightly different way.
That's it. That's it. And that was a lot of like, we spent a lot of time, you know, going through like, what will life look like for me being pregnant? How will my job look? How will like, and that was, I think, a big piece, and it's a big piece for so many. And I think whether or not people always realize it, but just like, and it didn't have to be perfect. And yeah, we never got the full visualization of you. I feel like I could see you pregnant, but it was hard for you, and that was fine. Like
Yeah.
I was like, so what? Okay, so we can't do that. You know what I mean? That's fine. Maybe, right? I say this a lot of like, maybe we can't visualize our pregnancy until we're actually pregnant, and maybe that's fine. Like, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of pressure of like this, that toxic positivity of like, you have to do it this way, otherwise you're not going to have your baby.
Totally.
But a lot of like unpacking around that. I think around that, being a professional and being in your 40s, and did I have to sacrifice one to do the other? And that like that piece of like coming to terms with like, no, I can actually
Yeah.
have the life of my dreams. I can have it all. And am I open to like seeing what it looks like versus saying what it has to look like, right?
Yeah. And I think there's also for me a piece in just knowing that I didn't have to know.
Yes.
So, and I think the pandemic sort of disruption of life also really assisted with that, because everybody's lives looked different. Everybody's approaches to working, home life, kid life, everything was different. And so in that disruption, I sort of found a little peace with the
Okay.
fact that I was going to be different too. And
Mhm.
I will say, I do think resting made a huge impact for me, not being on a plane, not
Yeah,
sort of
100%.
physically pushing
Yeah.
all the time. I
Yeah.
do think that from sort of the non-spiritual or emotional side, that is the one distinction that was a huge bonus. And, you know, in pregnancy, if you're tired at work, it's really hard to lay on the floor and take a nap. Oh, although I'm sure people manage it. But
Yes.
when you're working from home, you can find your couch and lay down for
Yeah.
20 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever. So, you know, I'm really hopeful that some of the relaxed standards of
Yes.
office time will help some of the mamas to be get the rest that they need. But aside from that, I do think that creating a space of not needing to know was the most important piece for me, because once I got pregnant, it was like I was so happy being pregnant.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was not a minute of struggle of like, what
No.
is this? What does it look like? It was like, this is amazing, and I'm
Yeah.
so happy.
Yeah, you were so ready at, I think, when that came through. It was like it just fell right into place, if you will.
Yeah, yeah,
But I do think too, I think that's a good point. Like when we first met, you were traveling a lot and work was really intense, and there was this like, okay, yeah, what will it look like? I remember us like talking through of like, okay, are we hopping on a plane to San Francisco and like we're bringing the baby and the nanny, or we're not? Do you remember like working through those scenarios, you know? And then it was this beautiful thing that happened when COVID hit, where it was like, oh, this could be the pace that actually works for me. I felt like that almost
yeah,
like opened up another door, like a slither of like, oh, now this is actually easier for me to see, and it feels like a lot less pressure.
yeah,
And I mean, I always trust the timing of our lives, and it's like I anticipated it happening for you, you know, and that's my job, but like the entire time, right? You know, and holding that space. But it really did feel like too, there was just this like for you of like, oh, now I'm here. Like now this is, and then thinking about using those eggs from the past, which yeah, why else did we freeze them if we weren't going to potentially use
yeah,
them, right? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
let's do it. And we didn't, you know, I think that's it too, of like um not needing to prove anything, but more like being in this space of like, okay, this is another option for me, and this is a very valid, great option. Let's go and do it. Versus and I see that a lot too in the women I work with, where, you know, and I think that's the societal pressure too of like, I can do it, I can do this, I can do all these things, and it's like, okay, but we can also surrender and, I don't know, be open to other possibilities, I suppose, is the way to look at it.
yeah. It was really hard for me to use those eggs,
I
and
know.
I think that, you know, we don't really talk about that a lot in this setting, just
Yeah.
because you know, people are probably, there's an assumption that like if you freeze them, you'll use them.
Right.
And, you know, even my fertility doc was like, you know, you've got these eggs. um, she was very cool about it and very sweet and always let me lead, but you know, did feel compelled to remind me that there was something else in our toolkit if we needed
Yeah.
it. But it was really important that I not use those eggs until I was ready to use
Yeah.
those eggs. And um, for me, it was like there was so much emotion tied up in using those eggs, because that was it, right? Like that was my
Uh,
last
that
shot,
was your
kind
insurance
of the
policy.
sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have to be really ready. And I think a lot of, you know, this will probably happen more in the future because so many women are banking
Yeah.
all kinds of things, not just eggs, but early in life, right? And so have sort of no visibility into when they might use them, which is great. But I think it's something that's worth talking about, because it is not necessarily, you know, the first fertility doc I went to just treated me like I was stupid
Hmm.
for even trying after 40,
I remember.
and I wasn't ready. So that part is important to have a discussion about with yourself, because it was almost, I almost felt like a little bit ashamed
Yes.
for my commitment to try naturally in sort of wider circles, like outside of Aimee and my
Yeah.
doctor and my husband. It was like I just didn't talk about it very much because people thought I was a little nutty.
Yeah. And then I think even freezing eggs at 38, a lot of shame goes around that too, of like, oh, you waited too long. Like 38's too old. You know, I mean, I hear that a lot. I have girls that want
Yeah.
to freeze at 40, and doctors will be like, well, what's the point of that? You know, but I'm like, but then I see healthy children born to 45-year-old women. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, no, there's definitely options and possibilities. Um, but I understand that too, of like, you know, and that is part of it too. We broke the batch in half, and it felt like that felt safe to you, of like, okay, let's do this. Let's do half of them and see. And then out of that, getting the two. And it was just like, and now, yeah, you could have a family of two just with those 12 thawed, and
Yeah.
if all goes
Yeah.
well, if you transfer another one. No pressure, 2 months out.
Oh, my OB was so funny when I went back in. She was like, "Just so you know, I really hope you use that second embryo. Like, it'd be super fun." And you're like, "Okay, thanks." I'm leaking
No
milk as
pressure.
we sit
No.
here.
Yeah.
I'm a little preoccupied.
Yeah,
So funny.
no. But it's such it is a luxury, especially like you do understand, even having had those eggs, which I know there's a lot of women on here that don't have that in the bank, if you will. But like, for you to, you put your best into those attempts for those five, for all those 20 IUIs and all those IVFs. And it's like, to now know on the other side of like, and I see a lot of women with like that. Now I have this extra embryo sitting there. Am I going to use it? Like there is all, like, you get plagued with that stuff too. I see that a lot, where some
Yeah.
women are like, I don't want to have another. And I know this is like, a lot of you on here are so eager for this dream baby, so this is even hard to contemplate. But it's an interesting conundrum to find yourself into on the other side. But there's, I'm sure for you, just like that sense of relief of like, okay, I made it through this, and now I get to decide what I want to do next. It's very empowering.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Mm. Well, thank you for sharing everything. What words of wisdom, because I know you have some, for our girls who are out there and I guess trying so hard to bring this baby through, having gotten to the other side.
Yeah, I would just say talk to that baby in whatever way works for you. Like, I think it's really, really important. For me personally, I believed that, that baby was there, whether he was coming through in this lifetime or not. That was like
Yeah,
my own spiritual belief. And
yeah,
so, um, I just didn't have a conversation with myself about, him never coming through or
yes,
the baby never coming through. It was just like a temporal thing, like this is happening now, or we'll meet again on the next round, is sort of kind of the view I had about it. And I I just strongly encourage a conversation with the baby in whatever way is possible, even if it's not um, sort of visceral feeling in you. Just having at least a spiritual conversation really kind of kept me through. And I also tried to compartmentalize a little bit. Like, when I went to the doctor all those many times, there's a Starbucks underneath the building, as in every building on the planet. And I used people would say like, "Where are you going?" And I would say, "I'm going to get a hot chocolate." And I would literally go get a hot chocolate after every single visit to that building. And so it just became like, I'm going on my hot chocolate run. And then when
yeah,
I wanted to
yeah,
really unload on the crappy parts of how heavy or hard it was, like, I did that with Aimee, and I didn't really do it anywhere else, so that I was appropriately addressing those issues, those feelings, those struggles, but I wasn't spending my day with those feelings. I was, just going to get a hot chocolate. And that piece is also really important, and is so difficult, right? Because it's so consuming. You just want to think about it all the time. It's like, for me, there was a period where I felt like if I just like thought about it more, maybe I would solve the pain in my
yes,
heart about it. And it's like, that's not really how it works. You're just going to walk around with that pain. It's just going to sit there adjacent to whatever other joy you let in and all the
yeah.
other parts of your life. And so just making peace with that little bit of heartache, and trying to turn my
Oh,
view
I
of that
love that.
heartache into love, right? Like, that heartache is really just love. It's
That's all
just
it is.
love.
Longing. It's like a longing love. And I
Yeah.
always think too, spiritually, like, you know, how I was taught in the spiritual realm of like, when you feel that separation, it's because you're meant to be together. So like, feeling that heartache is actually a sign that like deep your inner knowing knows, and so it's like almost using that as a tool help you navigate. Yeah. And I like that,
Yeah.
making peace with it. I like
Yeah. It's like, this is a part of me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And,
Letting heartache
and
become
I
love.
will
Someone
say,
just quoted you. I love it. Letting heartache become love.
on the other side, you know
Yeah.
what it is all for, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the other side is this baby boy. And for other people, the other side can be lots of different things for
Yeah.
sure. But I also think giving yourself rest is really difficult in our culture. And that struggle doesn't end once you make the baby. That's, you know, like, now I'm thinking about going back to work and how I'm going to rest to make sure my milk supply stays amazing. And it's this concept of rest you have to make your own way with in all sort of phases of life. But I think in the conception stage, the additional feature of rest for me was what made my pregnancy so joyful.
Yeah.
So it's not just like having the result, it's the experience that you are having while you're doing the thing. And rest, it was just a huge lesson about rest for me.
Yeah. Yeah. To slow down and like rest is nourishment, right? You know, and just that piece of like coming back home to you and honoring your needs, hearing your needs instead of the go, go, go society where we just kind of push them down and move through them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge piece. I love it. I love it. I'm going to give away a scholarship right now. So hang tight and then we'll wrap it up. I just saw you on here. It's Lilia. I don't know how to say the full name. Where are you? Here we go. Lilia Lohinska. Hot Chocolate Run. That girl, the one who wrote Hot Chocolate Run. So funny. You're winning the scholarship to the eCourse. So we will see you next week in the weekly Q&A, and I can't wait. And just message Beth at aimeeraupp.com and she will get you hooked up with what's next for you. So congratulations. And Jamie, thank you so much for coming and sharing
Yeah.
your deep insight. As always, I always enjoy our conversations, even in the public realm.
It's my pleasure.
And I think that's like the biggest takeaway is like let the heartache become love, and also just like making peace with it. Of like I long for this thing, hence why I feel this way. We can't do anything to erase that, and I don't think we should strive for that. It's acceptance and just, but also like, is there joy around it, right? You know what I mean? How am I filling up the joy bucket in conjunction with having this heartache?
Totally.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you, Aimee.
Kiss that beautiful boy for me,
I will.
and email me if you want to talk about the
Yeah.
C-section recovery stuff. Okay.
Cool. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful story. And I just always adored talking with her. Like all of my clients, it's such a beautiful relationship I get to form. And yeah, so even for all of you in your late 30s to know too that the eggs that she collected in her late 30s still rendered a 2 PGT normals. And with older sperm as well, right? I think her husband's about the same age as her now. But it's also like about coming to terms and peace and being open to all the possibilities. And I think that's like the biggest takeaway for so many of us of like, it's not if this baby's coming through, it's when, and am I open to all the many ways that it can make its presence. And I do love that piece of advice about connecting with the spirit of your child and just talking with them and letting them know that like, if you choose to come through in this lifetime, I will love you forever. Like I love how she said that. And it's just so special and so true. And if not, there's an Erica Badu song that's something like, I guess I'll see you next lifetime. That's what makes me think about it. Of just like we're together no matter what. And that the heartache is that separation, but you can also use that as a sign too of like the togetherness. Okay. I love you guys. I'm going to go because I've been on screens since 9 a.m. basically. And I'm going to take a break for a half hour and I'll see you at the fertility hot seat. And Lilia, congratulations. We'll see you in the weekly Q&A next week. And I can't wait for you to dive into the eCourse and all of its materials. And to the rest of you, one more scholarship will be given away tonight at the Story of Hope at 7 p.m. with Kayana. and a promo code to whoever gets chosen for my hot seat at 2 o'clock. And the doors do close to the Yes You Can Get Pregnant eCourse this evening. So you have about 10 hours left to make your decision, 10 and a half hours, I guess, to be exact, to join this round of the Yes You Can Get Pregnant eCourse. There is a lot that you get with this eCourse. You never get kicked out of this eCourse. The program never ends. It ends when you get pregnant and we move you to the new mama group. So keep that in mind. A lot of people are asking, like, when does the program end? When do I stop having access to the Q&As? The answer is never. Jamie, for instance, if she decides to transfer another one of those embryos, she's just going to re-up. She's just going to come back to the group, start coming to the Q&As again. That's what a lot of my girls do. And so, and I pride myself on that once you're a part of this community, you're a part of this community, and you don't go away unless you decide to go away. So I love you guys. AimeenRaupp.com/basic is what you can use to just get right to the checkout page and purchase your course. On that page, there is a 4 payment plan option and the regular. And then also, if you do AimeenRaupp.com/7, the number 7, PAY, pay, that's the 7 payment plan option. Let's do it. Let's do it. And as you can see, my work with Jamie was obviously very pragmatic, I suppose, but we had deep spiritual conversations and a lot of unpacking, a lot of reworking belief systems. And, you know, I meet my clients where they're at. And so that's what she needed and what she wanted. I shouldn't say needed necessarily, what she wanted. And yeah. Okay. Ciao for now. I'll see you later.